Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and we've got one of the biggest updates I have ever seen when it comes to class changes. The entire game is pretty much getting an overhaul in terms of class tuning with this update, and if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with changes like this, smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated, but let's get started because there are so many of them. The first rounds of changes is going to be focused around PvE, but we'll have some PvP implications, and we have some major PvP ones at the bottom as well. Blood Death Knight, you're seeing your set bonus basically being nerfed by 50%. Heartstrike and Blood Boil deal 10% increased damage from 20. This will be felt even more in PvP and have a 5% chance to grant Vampiric Blood for 5 seconds. Remember, these are nerfed 50% already in PvP, so it's going from 10 to 5 in PvP. For Unholy Death Knight, Virulent Plague damage is being increased by 15%. This will not be increased in PvP combat. Epidemic damage will be increased by 12%. Even with a 12% increase, I'm really doubting that you're still going to use it in PvP. Festering Strike damage is getting a 20% increase. Although Festering Strike is not typically one of your highest damage dealing spells, it's definitely, better than nothing. I was surprised to see any of these really going through in PvP, and will still be an overall damage increase for Unholy in PvP. Festering Wound damage is being increased by 12%, but will not be in PvP combat. This is one of your top damage effects. Ghoul Sweeping Claws damage is going to be buffed by 15%, and this will be carried into PvP. Demon Hunters, they've got their sights on you here for some big nerfs. Fell Rush damage is being reduced by 12%. Immolation Aura damage is being reduced by 12%. Fell Barrage damage is being reduced by 12%, and they have fixed an issue when talented into a fire inside that caused any cast of Immolation Aura beyond the first to not enforce its intended GCD. For Restoration Druids, we are seeing some big nerfs in the PvP section. Here in the PvE focus section, Ferocious Bite damage is going to be decreased by 20%, but will not be applied in PvP combat. Rip damage is being decreased by 15%, but will not be applied in PvP combat. It seems they are trying to focus on the combo point spenders still feeling powerful, but the builders will be getting nerfed. Rake damage is going to be decreased by 10%, and Shred damage is going to be decreased by 10%. So it means you're going to have to spend more time in cat form to really get the benefit of this. Cat form is something you can really only abuse as Resto in 2v2 though, so unless you're a 2v2 druid, you're not going to really notice this. Evoker, Devastation is just receiving a 5% damage increase overall. This will be felt in PvP. Regenerative Magic is going to increase Leech by 5% for Devastation, up from 3%. And Draconic Legacy increases Stamina by 8%, up from 6%. And any percentage-based increase for Stamina is a monstrous increase because health pools are so high with this current item level. So this is likely a big survivability increase for Devastation, and most importantly for its window against things like Subtlety Rogues when it's dying in stuns. If it has enough health that it's not going to die in those stun locks, it's going to be felt with massive impact. Beast Mastery Hunters, your 4-set bonus, Dire Beast's kill command damage reduced by 30%, and Beast Cleave gained by Dire Beast's effectiveness has been reduced by 30%, and this is kind of the main effect that is causing Beast Mastery to do so much damage in PvP, so this is going to be felt and have massive impacts. I would basically update my tier list, and I just did an update to it. Maybe that had some impact on these changes, who knows, but we will have to pump out another one because this is going to have some big impact on Tuesday. For Mistweaver Monk, Mana Tea now reduces the mana cost of spells by 25%, down from 50. Upwelling can now stack up to 15 times, down from 18. Essence Font Healing is decreased by 10%. Invigorating Mist Healing is decreased by 10%. Calming Coalescence now increases the absorb amount of Life Cocoon by 2% per stack, down from 3. And Vivify's Primary Healing has been increased by 5%. Ancient Concordance now increases the chance for Blackout Kick to reset Rising Sun Kick by 12, up from 10. So seemingly overall nerfs to Mistweaver. I think targeting mana regeneration on healers to try and get them in line. I really don't like when healers never use any mana at all in PvP. So hopefully this is going to get that more in line. Your throughput was already remarkably high, so I'm kind of doubting that any of these other changes will be felt in PvP. Windwalker, surprisingly, at least for PvP, is just going to be getting a 6% overall damage increase. They have massive damage during Serenity. This is likely just going to increase the damage during Serenity and not really help them outside of that window, I would imagine. But Serenity just got even scarier for Windwalker Monk. For Paladins, for Holy, Crusader Strike now costs 0.6% of your base mana, down from 1.6. 6 and deals 25% increased damage. Hammer of Wrath now costs 0.6% base mana down from 1 and deals 20% increased damage. So damage buffs for Holy Paladin to try and get them into the mix a bit more is likely going to encourage you to be more aggressive, which I like. I think when healers are able to do damage and feel enabled to do it rather than, like for example, Druid, I landed a Cyclone and it cost all my mana bar. Why did I even do that? And now I got kicked and I'm dead. I'd rather encourage healers to feel like participating aggressively rewards them and gets their team ahead, because that feels more fun in PvP, at least for me. For Discipline Priest, all of your healing is being reduced by 3% and all of your damage is being reduced by 3%. The 3% guy strikes again. I don't know what it is, but in every update, there's some spec that's 3%. So this is likely going to be felt a little bit, but I don't think it's a big deal. For Holy Priest, you're getting 4% healing increased overall. I still feel like changes to their mana regeneration is really where it's being felt the most in PvP, but let's see what else they're doing. Burning Vehemence now causes Holy Fire to deal 75% of its initial damage to nearby enemies, up from 60, trying to give them more AoE for Mythic Plus. It's not going to really matter in PvP. For your 2-set bonus, Renews caused by Serenity now last 18 seconds, up from 14, and Renews caused by Sanctify now last 6, up from 5. So this could help your mana regeneration if Renews are lasting longer and you're not having to manually reapply them in between these holy words. You can almost like effectively unkeybind Renew. This could have big implications on your mana regeneration. Definitely interested to see how this one plays out. For Rogues, King's Bane damage is being reduced by 15%. I don't think this is surprising, at least for PvP. Blindside effect chance reduced to 15%, down from 20, and 30% against low health targets. It was 40 previously. For Restoration Shaman, Healing Surge now costs 4.4% of base mana, down from 4.8. Chain Lightning is getting a 20% damage increase, and Acid Rain is getting a 10% damage increase. Now, I don't believe there are any more Healing Rain talents to really make a Healing Rain build viable. Chain Lightning is something you never press. Flame Shock, Lava Burst, and Stormkeeper Lightning Bolts, like maybe a Stormkeeper Chain Lightning might be worth experimenting with, but I think Flame Shock and Lava Burst procs have generally been like the best way to do damage as Resto Shaman. But the Healing Surge, mana was never really a major problem for Shaman, so it's overall these are kind of just meh changes for PvP. For Unholy Death Knights, now I'm uncertain as to what Rotten Touch's effectiveness is. This is going to be reduced by 40% in PvP combat, so any Unholy Death Knights want to let us know in the comments down below, because something getting reduced by 40% seems pretty big. Moving forward for Unholy Death Knights in PvP. For Resto Druids, your 4-set bonus, which is the most overpowered 4-set bonus in the game by far, is now going to cast Nourishes at 50% effectiveness, down from 100 in PvP combat, and your Mastery is being nerfed by 15% in PvP combat. Now, personally, one thing I don't like about Resto Druid is there is a talent that when you cast Regrowth, it applies a Regrowth hot to all targets with Life Bloom. So you can put Life Bloom on your DPS and run behind the pillar and cast Regrowth on yourself, avoid all the interrupts and apply Regrowth to your team, effectively completely negating the interaction of interrupts. I don't like that, and I believe that this set bonus was also going through Line of Sight in a similar fashion. I think that those effects should not apply through Line of Sight, or they should only apply in Line of Sight and not when you're behind the pillar. But this is a big nerf, and it's making me wonder where it's going to take Resto Druid, if it means that it's just completely not viable on Tuesday, because I have played Resto Druid with haste, and by God, it is not good. It is not. You don't want to try and do it. So this could have massive ramifications on Resto Druid, but their healing with the set bonus was beyond unbelievable. So even with this nerf, this set bonus is probably still the strongest in the game, but this nerf to your Mastery is probably going to be felt the most. For Marksmanship Hunters, which are doing surprisingly bad now after the nerfs, Survival of the Fittest is now going to reduce damage taken by an additional 10%. So hopefully you're not going to die through your wall. Very few classes in the game die through their wall, especially that are longer than 2-minute cooldowns. So hopefully this means that's going to be the case for Marksmanship. And Exhilaration is going to heal you for 40% of your maximum health, up from 30. And I think there's other talents that turn it into a hot and stuff like that that could benefit from this as well. So defensive buffs for Marksmanship Hunter are definitely going to be appreciated, and with the nerfs to Beast Mastery's damage, maybe we actually do see a shift depending on how much of an impact that set bonus has been having. For Monk, they fixed an issue that caused Fortify and Bruise damage reduction to be higher than intended in PvP combat. Now, Monks dying through defensive cooldowns happens pretty frequently, so I'm wondering, how much higher. They didn't say how much higher, like how much was it? I kind of want to know. But they're not going to let us know, I guess. But you're going to be a little bit squishier during Fortify and Brew. Be careful, because we don't know. You might actually just be glass randomly. Your 2-set bonus for Mistweaver, Chi Harmony now increases healing received by 15 down from 25 in PvP combat. Healing Elixirs now heals for 10% of your maximum health down from 20. Yulon's Grace now creates an absorb shield for 1% of your maximum health down from 2. That's a big one for Yulon's Grace. Dampen Harm's minimum damage reduction is no longer increased in PvP combat. It was previously 25%. And Fortify and Bruise damage reduction is no longer increased in PvP combat it was 30%. Diffused Magic now reduces magic damage taken by 40 down from 60. These are big nerfs to Mistweaver Monk. These are big nerfs to Mistweaver. I mean, this is likely scarier as a Fistweaver because you're getting really close to the combat. So if you're relying on these powerful cooldowns to just make you invincible, it might not be the case. So really big targets here on Mistweaver and Resto Druid so far. For Discipline Priest, your 4-set bonus now has a 100% chance to cast another Smite, up from 50. That set bonus was so bad. Even with this, I mean, at least for me, because I don't play Shadow Covenant. If you play Shadow Covenant, maybe you want to equip it. But Smite is just not a really great ability. You really want to benefit Penance, Radiance, and maybe Flash Heal and Shield. Those are like the best abilities to buff up with set bonuses or talents. So it's nice. It's definitely good that they're paying attention to the set bonuses that are either underperforming or completely undesirable. Would have liked to see something for Boomkin, because the Boomkin 4-piece is also just worse than just wearing even 1 piece of mastery gear. For Shaman Enhancement, Thorum's Invocation now increases Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning damage by 10% in PvP down from 20. Lava Lash is receiving a buff to 25% increase from 12. Elemental Blast damage is being reduced to 6% from 15. Is now reduced by 16 or 6. So Ele Blast is doing more damage. Sorry. Storm Weaver now causes Chain Heal and Healing Surge to gain 150% of the benefits from Maelstrom Weapon, from 100. So buffing your off healing and buffing your damage on the Lava Lash build. Very curious to see if this ends up being a viable option over the Proc Ascendants. I'm really tired of the Casino build for Enhancement. I really liked the Season 1 builds for Enhancement personally when I was playing it. So if it shifts back, I might check out the spec again. For Elemental, Lava Burst damage from your 4-piece is now reduced by 40% in PvP combat, was 50. It actually buffed to your 4-piece. Wow, Ele Shaman with 4-piece was doing a lot of damage. I'm surprised to see them buff it by 10, right? It was now reduced by 40. It was previously reduced by 50. That should be like, around a 10. I'm not good at math. It's not 10. I know you math guys are going to let me know it's not 10. You can let me know if you want what the exact number is, but buffing it is a little bit strange to me. For Resto Shaman, your 2-set bonus, effectiveness is no longer reduced in PvP combat. It was previously nerfed by 50. I think this is the buff to your Riptide heal when you cast a heal. I've been playing my Resto Shaman, so that's Resto Shaman's going up. Mistweaver, Resto Druid going down. For Subtlety Rogue, Shadow Blades extra shadow damage reduced to 15%, down from 20 in PvP combat. And Thief's Bargain PvP talent cooldown reduction value reduced to 20 from 33. So hopefully this has some impact on the number of vanish charges that they have. I feel like that's my biggest gripe with Subtlety Rogue, is that seemingly they just never run out of vanishes. And this is a possible contributor to that with the cooldown reduction onto that. So hopefully this does mean that Subtlety Rogue is more of a target. We see no changes for Outlaw Rogue survivability though. For Demonology Warlock, your Fell Obelisk is now going to benefit attack and cast speed of your minions, but it's only 10%, down from 20. Master Summoner PvP talent is going to reduce the cast time of Call Dreadstalker, Summon Valfiend, and Summon Demonic Tyrant by 15, down from 20. And Antoran Armaments now increases your Felguard's damage by 10, down from 20 in PvP combat. Doombrand from the 2-piece set bonus is now undispellable though, so you'll be spawning in these Doom Guards without having any sort of prevention. The debuff duration reduction for Doombrand for the 2-piece bonus is no longer reduced in PvP combat. And the damage effects from the 2-piece, 4-piece, and 4-set bonus are now reduced by 40%. They were previously 50. So this Doomguard is receiving some buffs in exchange for nerfs towards your Felguard, and all of your demons. Really getting all these demons out here is definitely going to be felt, and for your Imp cast speed as well. For Destruction Warlocks, this set bonus was actually the worst set bonus in the game. If you procced a Flame Rift, it was actually doing less damage than if you just didn't have the set bonus. So it's no longer nerfed by 50% in PvP. It's going to be full value. So Destro is getting a buff on Tuesday. And Fury Warrior, probably the biggest winner of all of the changes so far in this, is Rampage is going to be doing 40% additional damage up from 30. Execute is going to be doing 50% additional damage up from 40. And Crushing Blow no longer deals reduced damage. It was previously reduced by 20. So Crushing Blow is going to be doing 20% 20% more damage. Raging Blow deals 15% additional damage in PvP combat, and Annihilator is going to do 15% additional combat. Completely different game, completely different meta here coming in on Tuesday, especially with some of those changes that we discussed with Resto Druid and Mistweaver Monk. So I'm very interested to see what happens with this. We've got a tournament tomorrow for Solo Shuffle. These changes are not going to be live into that tournament, so seeing an immediate jump and shift in meta between that event and to the week after is going to be very interesting. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.